All right, today we're going to talk about new construction and why you should not buy one without a real estate agent.
I was like, do not buy one. What?
So definitely buy new construction, but
Yeah.
you need a real estate agent.
Yes, yes.
So Sarah Lyons here, Century 21, an agent that you need to help buy a new build.
Yes.
Okay, so let's say I'm a buyer and I see this fancy new build, and I walk up to that little model home, and there's there's always that person that's like, I'll sell you the house right now.
Yes.
Why would I not just do it myself? Why would I need you?
The biggest thing is advocacy. So I really love new construction. I am a new construction nerd when it comes to watching a home be designed, built, making design selections, going through the maintenance items or how a home functions. I really feel like it's a disservice that our school system does when they do like a home ec class or they teach you kind of how to adult. They don't teach stuff that's typical things you should know about how to live in a property. I mean, right out of college, living in my first apartment and not being aware of how to change or where to change my AC filter, or certain maintenance things that you should just be aware of as far as like adulting. You know, they teach us.
Well, don't you know you're supposed to make enough money that you just pay the guy?
No, you don't just pay the guy, but even so, like we have so many things that we have to worry about and do as far as taxes, paying bills, maintaining your vehicle, maintaining your own health, going to the doctor, having health insurance, all these things. But they don't educate you on how to maintain a property, a home. And I love going through that with my clients, especially on new construction. But advocacy is the biggest thing, that having your own realtor is important for new construction. When you walk into the model, those sales reps are ultimately employed by the builder. Their job is to sell you that property. Just like when you go into a car dealership, they're meant to try to sell you that car and not let you go off and buy something else. The fortunate thing about having a real estate agent and an advocate is I'm not there to sell you one particular home. I'm there to help you with the correct home. So I am not limited to this one builder, even new construction versus pre-owned. My job is to be with you throughout all of it.
Yeah.
Versus if you go to a car dealership and you look at that Toyota, but you ultimately decide you actually want a Honda, but you like that Toyota guy, TFB, he can't help you. He can't take you to that other dealership and help you buy that other product. Whereas I can. I'm with you through all of it. So especially when I help a first-time home buyer, I do a detailed consultation. We talk about what things you're looking for, what you need, price point, timeline. And through part of that, some of my clients really would be a good candidate for a new construction home versus a pre-owned. A lot of times if I hear words like low maintenance, community feel, high efficiency, plug and play, or just like lock it and forget it, those are types of things that I know that buyer would be great for new construction. If they say things like character, or mainly character, or big trees, or those types of trigger words, home. They want something older and they're going to want an established neighborhood, and so then we'll focus on those. But typically when I meet with those buyers that might be a new construction candidate, we will start by looking at some pre-owned homes that are pretty new, and then we'll finish off the home tour with some new construction to see what those options look like. In a lot of cases, if you are looking at a home that's maybe 3 to 5 years old versus a new construction home, the monthly cost obligation is actually lower on a new construction home than that pre-owned. And it's for a couple of reasons. One of the big reasons is that a lot of these homes are way more energy efficient. Spray foam insulation is becoming a lot more of a standard, and it makes a huge difference on your power bills because your attic's only about 3 degrees difference from the main structure of the house. So your energy costs are significantly different. The other big thing, a lot of these new home construction lenders, they have a relationship with a lender, and a lot of times they're offering a down payment credit basically as part of the process, but also interest rate. And interest rate does make a big impact on
Why are they doing that?
So a lot of it has to do with control. The builder wants to know that if they sign a contract with a buyer, it's not going to fall out. The buyer's not going to have to terminate because they don't qualify. They also want the control of making sure that they don't have to wait on an outside lender to close on time. So if the builder has their own lender, their own title company.
They're doing it internally.
Normally it's a a sister company. They're normally not the exact same company, but they're
Right.
essentially owned by the same, yes. In some cases, if they're a smaller builder, they don't have their own insurance company, so they'll do some type of relationship where they're getting some type of discount for sending everything to one lender. But ultimately, it comes down to control. If it's their lender, their title company, they can make sure that when the house is finished, the loan is ready to go versus having to wait on Chase or
Outside
some
lending,
outside
yeah.
lender to be able to close the deal on time. But also, too,
So they offer better rates. So even if I wanted to
Yes.
use, I mean, I can use my own lender.
yeah, absolutely. They'll give you a choice of if you use, so I've actually a great example. I'm going to name drop some builders. At the end of this video, I'm going to tell you who my favorite 2 builders are in Dallas Fort Worth. But the process of having their own control, they've basically prepaid a bunch of interest rate buy downs in order to offer the buyers a lower interest rate if you go with their lender. If you don't, then you can negotiate your own terms. And they'll
Wow.
allow that, but they'll give you a rate buy down. So I just met yesterday doing a blue tape walkthrough, which is what we call a walkthrough about a week before closing with the builder that actually built the home, who is in charge of that community's construction process. And we use blue tape, that's why it's called the blue tape walkthrough, to mark any inconsistencies with the paint, green tape for texture. We go through the homeowner maintenance items and any kind of concerns or things we need the builder to fix before we go into closing the following week.
They buy down.
The rate buy down. So in this case, this builder was offering him a 4.99% interest rate, whereas today's going rate on a conventional loan is in the high 6s to sometimes 7 or low 7s.
How much was he offering?
They were doing a 4.99
Okay.
interest rate
On a new build
on a
construction.
new construction versus him
Traditional-
doing his traditional loan.
At 7.
Yes. So it's going to save him a few $100s a month for the next 30 years just from the interest rate alone. On top of the efficiency of having spray foam insulation versus buying like a 4-year-old home that doesn't, that just has.
So even if the entry price, the purchase price is more expensive on the new build, you're either going to be net even or even less per month than kind of the
Correct.
equivalent sized
Correct.
used home.
Yeah, we priced it out.
But what if I want character?
Then we're going to not look at a 5-year-old home anyway. So it would be a totally
Yeah.
different kind of price point and a totally different kind of community anyway. But what this client's an engineer, and so of course he really likes the numbers, and I'm quite analytical. So we basically ran the numbers, and it essentially gave him another $30,000 in buying power to buy that new construction home over a comparable couple-year-old pre-owned. Because of the interest rate buy down, the efficiencies of the power. Also, they were offering some closing cost assistance as well. So we basically figured out, and the prices were actually quite comparable. It wasn't a $30,000 increase in price, but because of those differences, it made it a better buy for him. The monthly obligation plus having the warranties. New construction, most new builders in our market offer a 1-year, a 2-year, and a 10-year warranty. 1 year, they call it, some builders will call it bumper to bumper, kind of like with a
Yeah.
car. Essentially,
Anything.
they'll do like a one-time cosmetic near the end of the year if any kind of cracks show up in that settling year. 2 years inside the walls, parts and labor. 10-year structural, which normally is done through a third party. So even if the builder went under, it's a third party company. They've already paid for your structural warranty. So if you end up having a slab break or having major foundation stuff. With that too, you have other warranties typically through like the manufacturer of the appliances, like Whirlpool. Same with HVAC system. Like if it's Trane, they'll have a separate like warranty.
How many people still get a traditional inspection on a new build?
For me, all of them. I
Yeah.
always advocate a third-party home inspection. There are things that when we do a blue tape walkthrough with the builder, we do inspect ourselves. Obviously, the cosmetic things, making sure doors open and close, windows, those types of things. But there are things I cannot check.
Yeah.
I don't go up on a roof. I'm not able to, I don't have the proper equipment to do a moisture test and make sure that when they're running the shower, we don't have moisture permeating past the pan.
Right.
That's so important to know because those are things that if it's a pre-owned home and somebody's using the shower every day, they're going to figure it out themselves. But on a new construction, nobody's used that shower. Nobody's actually taken a bath. So having a good professional home inspection is so important.
So you're going to recommend that. And I mean, to your point, obviously I own an inspection company. We find a lot of things wrong with new builds.
Yes.
So we always advocate for it as well. But you are guiding your client through the process of it. You're going to recommend the your vendors in the inspection world, anyone you know that could assist in that process, and you walk with them step by step through
Yes.
to make sure that they don't get bamboozled by the...
Yes, absolutely.
Because you got to think, if they're offering all those, like the 4.9%, all these things that just make the deal so attractive, there's got to be something. They still have to make some solid money. So there's something on the back end that you might know about, or you can look at the documentation, but this right here.
Yes, yeah. With pre-owned homes, we use a state promulgated form that is our contract. With new construction, they have an attorney draw up a contract to represent the builder more so than a buyer. So there are some things in there that can be concerning language. So whenever my buyer is ready to work with the builder and us do a contract, we go through it together, and I point out anything that might be of concern as far as knowing your rights. But ultimately, money is the part that's going to motivate the builder the most. They have some clauses in there that say, like, we're not going to guarantee your closing date. If there's like an act of God and the house is torn down, you know, things like that, they're not responsible. But also, too, they have in there, like, we can cancel the contract potentially.
Right.
Ultimately, money talks. They want to sell the house because that's how they keep moving forward. But there are definitely things in there that you want to know about, and I can tell you, because of my experience of selling homes for over 11 years, I've sold well over 600 homes, and I've sold a lot of new construction homes, knowing what's typical and what's not. And that's one of those things, doing a final walkthrough with the builder yesterday at my client's property. He's telling my client things, and he will look to me to make sure I'm verifying that, yes, he's not BSing you. This is an industry standard.
That's a good feeling.
This is typical. Because that's exactly what happened, actually. We had a home inspection, a third-party inspection done before our final walkthrough. We went through it together with the builder, the person that actually built the home, and he had some qualms with some of the items. So I was able to let my client know what was real and what wasn't. A great example, sometimes things will be called out on a state home inspection because it's a state list.
In the municipality, yeah.
Yeah, but the municipality can supersede the state list. Home inspectors sometimes will call out something that they say, well, the city just inspected this and it's actually correct. And so letting my client know that that is in fact correct, that, you know, they did follow what they needed to do.
Yeah.
And about 80% of the stuff the home inspector called out, the builder said, yes, we're going to go ahead and address all of this, and we'll have it all fixed before you close.
Yeah.
But being there with my client when we actually do these inspections, and being there going through and to make sure that they know their rights, but also what stuff needs to be fixed, and then making sure it's actually fixed before closing. We do a final walkthrough right the morning of closing before they go to the title company. So really, and the same thing with on pre-owns. My job is not just to open doors. That's very, very little of what my job is. My job is to advocate for my clients and to educate my clients. And the education part is something I'm really passionate about. I love educating consumers in general and empowering them. There's not some magic black box as far as information. I'm there to give them an idea of what's an industry standard, what is reasonable, and make sure that they feel like they're not being taken advantage of. Because that's so important, and I have heard so many horror stories of people's experiences in the past that have not been positive. And my goal is that when they get to the closing table and I am handing them the keys to their new home, they say, wow, this was so much less stressful than I anticipated, or this was so much more smooth than I anticipated, this was fun. Like, my goal is that this be a positive experience, and that at the end they think of it as a cool experience that they got to go through, not a slog, or not something that was traumatic or extra stressful. And that's part of the thing that makes me so passionate about what I do.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, if I ever buy a new home,
I got you. And as promised, I said at the beginning of the video, I would name drop my two favorite builders in Dallas-Fort Worth, which would be Highland Homes. I've sold many, many Highland homes. They're an employee-owned company. They're in multiple neighborhoods in Dallas-Fort Worth, but they're a Texas-based builder that only service like Houston and the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. But they have very, very low turnover on their staff. There are many builders and also sales reps for them that have been with the company, 10 plus years. They stand by their product, but they also build a really good quality product. They don't skip a lot of steps to try to just save money. And then that's kind of in the $500,000 to $800,000 price point. And then Meritage Homes is the other one, which is in a
We've
slightly,
inspected a lot of those.
yeah. But they're also have a lot of autonomy with their employees. And the inspection I was at, the blue tape walkthrough I was at yesterday was with a Meritage Home. And the builder, he's been with 6 different companies. And he said, I hope to finish my career with them because they've been the best
Nice.
employer. And they've really given us a lot more autonomy as far as getting our job done and not micromanaging us and not cutting corners to try to increase profit, which is what you love to hear. Really love to hear that.
Yeah, we've done a few others.
Yeah.
So, if you're buying a new home, definitely get a real estate agent.
Yes.
Preferably Sarah Lyons with
Yes.
Century 21.
Yes.
All of her info will be down below. Thanks for watching, guys.
Thank you.